But first, we'll get Rob and I will start talking a little bit of shop kind of stuff, and then we'll bring you in. I'll introduce you and bring you in.
Okay.
And then, do you want to be junior or do you want to just be Stork?
Yeah, don't go junior.
Okay.
You can call me Coyote because everybody calls either or. I mean, I know this shirt has Bill on it. Half time I'm more one to say Coyote, but everybody at the store and a lot of our customers know me by Coyote.
Okay, yeah. So I just got to make sure I introduce you the correct way, but.
When you talk, make sure you are talking into I know
Okay.
it's hard because it's right
Yeah, no, I'm like
Yeah.
So like and it'll pick up on the side, right?
Yeah, it should pick up on the side.
mainly in the middle.
Okay.
You can't hear
I'll do
him
my
on the-
best.
You
It's so
can't
weird.
You're like talking to the camera but talking to him at the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you can turn, Bill, and as long as you're in the front, you can. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
So that's why it's hard because me being in the middle, like I'm constantly like doing this all the time, but
Kind of almost like our mics better. But it sounds really good with these.
I know that's the only thing. But so I guess whenever. Rob, are we good?
Yeah, we're good.
Okay. Welcome back, everybody, to another edition of Dakota Customs un-RIVETED. I'm your host, owner, operator of Dakota Customs, Travis Feist, and with me, as always, is my sales manager, right-hand man, Rob McLeod.
Good morning, all you unriveted fans.
Morning,
Glad you're
Rob.
still with us. Morning, Travis.
Cold.
A little nippy.
I think fall's coming, or maybe it's here.
I think it's here. I think winter is coming.
Yeah.
So I been leaving the diesel parked, and I left drive the little Toyota, and that thing was smooth, frozen up yesterday morning. Couldn't hardly get into it. Windshield wipers weren't working.
Yeah. I'm not really a fan of this weather, to be honest with you. And I think the older I get, the more I'm even just disliking it, even that much more.
Yeah.
So I don't know, I can't say it's my age. I just think that I'm just over the whole winter thing, to be honest with you.
Right,
Fall,
yeah.
everything.
So I've kind of been waiting to ask you a question, Travis. So I'm gonna.
And this is the time you're going to ask?
Yeah, I feel like this is a good time.
Okay.
So I'm catching a flight to Arizona on Friday night, and I know you got a really nice street glide down there.
Ugh.
What are the keys to that thing, man?
Well, if you know anything about a Harley, there is no keys. I'm thinking that might be too much bike for you, to be honest with you.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I heard she's a hot one.
A little bit.
Nice.
We might have to talk after the show. A
Man.
very, very brief conversation about it.
One-worded?
Yeah. Anyways.
Yeah.
Man, don't ruin my morning like that, Rob. Just like I've seen you ride. I'm no offense, but I've seen you ride.
I always keep it on two wheels, though, don't I?
Yeah, well, that's always a plus. But
Yeah.
even if it's on its side, it's on two wheels. So
It's on no wheels.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
So as we talk, we actually have a special guest here today, Bill Stork with Harley Davidson. We'll bring him in here in just a little bit. We'll talk about some Harley Davidsons and today's, I guess, pros and cons with Harley, and learn a little bit about Bill and his affiliation with Harley and how he got into it. Until then, we're still busy as ever. It's got a lot of projects going on, a lot of cool stuff, making commercials.
Yeah.
It's kind of neat and fun.
Got a lot of cool trucks out the door the past couple weeks from two different spectrums of the custom world.
Mm-hmm.
Two very, very satisfied customers with the work we did to their vehicles.
It's kind of fun because, it's one day we take a brand new spanking truck and we jack it up and do something crazy with it. And then it's like a week later, we're delivering an old 53 LS swap retro mod hot rod to a customer. It's just from one spectrum to the other. It's kind of, it's really satisfying.
Yeah, it is. It's, a guy can appreciate both trucks in their own standpoint. But yeah, it's kind of, that's kind of why we come to the shop every morning.
Right. And you can see, check out our stuff on Dakota Customs with a K and a Z. Our Facebook, our website. We're constantly posting pictures on there of our builds, our newest stuff, our latest stuff. We're always updating it. So if you're ever listening and you got some free time to go check us out, feel free to do it. Also, if you're in there and there's something that you guys want us to talk or something that you guys have questions about, feel free to, there's a section in there you can drop a comment, ask us questions, or if there's something you guys want to hear about on our podcast too, don't be afraid to pop a message in there and we can take a look at it and see and read it and hopefully can answer some of your questions.
So, yeah, I know we... There is keys for Harleys, Travis.
Well, technically,
Not the ones he has.
yeah, not,
I was thinking that too.
yeah. I don't really even think it works actually.
Anymore, there's those silly fobs.
Yeah.
Fobs are dominating the world. You'd think at some point there's so many different signals floating around out there for key fobs that you'll be able to just walk up to somebody else's bike
Right,
or
yeah.
car
Yeah.
and just open the door.
And something tells me that, I've never replaced a battery in that thing. Does it even work? I don't even know.
You're gonna find out at the worst possible
I
time.
know it's gonna be the one time when when they're in Arizona up at Cave Creek and I go to start it and it's gonna be lights gonna be flashing. Be like, shit.
I have those extra fob batteries in I got, traveling bags that go from bike to bike, and I've got those batteries in my bikes all the time. And I'm somebody's hero at one point in time, because theirs will die at the worst possible time, because that's how it happens.
Yeah.
I'll hand off a battery and
I'm wondering if maybe we should have Bill over there. Just because you are challenged with the height and you're not, and you might be able to stretch a little bit better. And that one would fit him better.
I'm fine.
I know you're fine.
I can raise the chair up too.
But it's just, you're
We
you're
got
not,
some books.
like you need to
we
be
can print
into, but I'm just wondering. Oh yes, go back to, finish whatever you were saying, go ahead, you're back on. You're like,
I
shit,
don't
what
even know
was I
what we're
saying?
talking about. Were we?
Well, you were asking to, you dropped right here that you wanted to borrow his bike in Arizona, and you guys were kind of feeding off that, and then you started talking about truck deals at the
I
store.
can't believe he asked me on.
That's why he did it.
Like, talk about getting between a rock and a hard spot on that deal. You had that thing planned, I think, Rob, didn't you?
No.
Yeah. Yeah, right.
But,
So
yeah.
going into that, yeah, it's been really fun. We've had a lot of cool builds come through our shop. We got a lot of more cool builds.
Yeah, we're
Some Kelderman stuff.
yeah, we're right in the middle of two pretty extensive Kelderman installs. It's really neat what those these trucks are already capable from the factory, and Kelderman just makes them get to a point to where these trucks are miniature semis.
Really. Kelderman's been around for years, not to kind of get into this, but, for anybody that's ever been in, or even just looking at their stuff, they're pricey, but once you ever purchase a kit and actually see it,
It's always
they're
justifiable.
legit. Absolutely. I mean, they actually know what to ask for the product because it is pretty legit. It's strong, it's good quality, it's worth it. If even to install it, use it, everything, it's a good company.
I think all you gotta do is just understand the tooling involved to mass produce those kind of kits. Then that's what you're paying for.
Right. Yeah, they're great kits.
Yeah.
So moving forward, let's talk some motorcycles.
We got the guy here to do so with.
Yeah, we got Bill Stork with us here with Rough Rider, Harley Davidson, and Mandan, North Dakota. What's up, Bill?
Hey, how are you?
Good. So I've known you for a few years. Actually, quite a few years, actually. I'm not going to say how many, but more than one. Tell us something, tell us a little bit about yourself. What got you into the Harley?
Well, I spent most of my life in the automotive business. As a matter of fact, I listened to your interview with Jesse Peterson, and it kind of made me smile and think how glad I am to be actually out of that business.
Right.
But I worked at Rapid Chevrolet in Rapid City, South Dakota for 21 years, and then the owner of that deal came up and asked me if I wanted to be a dealer principal in a store and be a partner, and I kind of thought he was out of his mind. I don't know what qualified me to do that, but then I moved to Pierce, South Dakota, and I had a Ford, Toyota, Lincoln Mercury dealership down there that I did my best to run, and it was an education on how to operate a business like that, and had a lot of good people around me that were our partners that helped me learn that industry and how to operate a store like that. And probably about a year after I had went down there, my dad and my mom, through these same partners that I had, got an opportunity to be partners in this Harley Davidson dealership up here in Mandan. And oh gosh, I don't know, it was probably about 4 or 5 years into that, they ended up buying another store in Minot. And you know, my dad was trying to talk me into coming up here pretty soon after they got involved with it, and I think his long-term intention was to get me to buy it, was his motivation, and that way he had an exit strategy.
Right.
And so I think I was in Pierre for 6 years, and moved up to Mandan to get involved with this with my parents. And let me tell you, anybody that's ever done that with their parents, that's a challenge.
Right.
To,
Oh, yeah.
you know, to
Oh, yeah.
work alongside your parents when you've all owned your own businesses prior. And,
You get to
and
know
now,
them in a completely different way.
yeah, it was a big challenge for sure. But we did best to stay in our own lane and stayed in different parts of the dealership. That helped. But eventually, we bought them out in 2014, my wife and I did. You know, she was all on board, yeah, let's do it. I'm like, I don't know, I'm getting a little bit too old to be taking on that kind of debt.
Right.
And didn't really need to.
Right.
And she wanted to push forward, and I said, all right, well, the only way this is happening is if you're on board. You're meaning you're involved, you're working there, you're taking it on with me. And,
Right.
and she was willing to do it, so there we are today. And I think, yeah, it was 2014 is when that happened.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So, you know, I can imagine it would be tough working for your, or with your parents, I shouldn't say
Oh, boy.
for, but
Yeah.
with, and even just like with friendships and everything, I think there's a fine line between that respect of, you know, between the hours of being open for business, it's business, and then afterwards it's, you know, you gotta try to keep that balance between family and business. I can but imagine it probably had good days and probably a lot of bad days too at times.
Yeah, you know, the thing about it is we'll say stuff to our friends one way, we'll
Right.
say something to our family another way.
All right.
Because we're maybe not as much worried about hurting their feelings.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, it was a challenge, and we all had our own ideas of how the business should operate, but at that point, I didn't have any stake in the game. I hadn't bought in yet. They didn't want me to until they were ready to completely sell out. So, but you could tell that they were starting to phase out and spending less and less time at the dealership. So, you know, the writing was on the wall, and it was kind of just all of a sudden, when they decided it was time. And even though when you do these buyouts, and our deal is considered a legacy deal because it's family, there's still an ungodly amount of hoops you must jump through with a corporate company like Harley Davidson. There was when I got in with Ford and Toyota too.
Right.
But this was still a big challenge. I know people that aren't doing family deals, they're having to do a lot more work than what I had to.
So how long did your parents have it?
So if I remember this correctly, I remember I went to Pierre in 2001. I think in 2002 they came up here, and then I bought it out in 2014.
So it was established at 2002 even.
Yeah, that's when they bought it from the prior owner when it was called Midway Harley Davidson.
Oh yeah, that's right, yeah. Which had been around for a few years even.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yes, and just to clarify, the Minot store, they actually sold that 2 years before I bought the one here in town. So I have nothing to do with that up there. It's
Oh.
a separate owner up there.
Oh, okay, sure, yeah. So what, well, your dad, I mean, he's getting up there for, I mean, he was probably ready to step out.
He was pretty much already in retirement mode when this opportunity came up. And the guys that were our partners in the Ford Toyota dealership that became their partners in his Harley dealership, that guy had owned like 8 car dealerships, and my dad had worked for him for many, many years. And he was a really smart guy, and I think he just saw talent where it was, and knew that they were the right people to take on that job.
Oh, sure. So I've met your dad a few times. Nice guy, super nice guy. I suppose he's probably living life a little bit right now, or does he still pop in every now and then and see how the son's doing?
Actually, sadly enough, my dad passed.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, that was, gosh, that's,
It's been a few years.
it'll be 3 years and about 2 more days. So.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, I
Yeah.
forgot about that. Yeah, that was a tragic deal. Yeah.
Yeah, well, that guy lived a lot of life in 80 years he was here, because he was wide open. He played as hard as he worked. So, just loved to go fast on snowmobiles, motorcycles, cars. Yeah, he was a speed freak.
I would have got along great with him.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would imagine, yeah.
Well, I'm thinking you kind of follow his footsteps a little bit, because that's kind of the life that you live still.
A little bit. I'm not as much as he did.
Yeah.
He definitely, I was a product of my environment, because both my parents were big into racing, all sorts of different kinds of racing that got me into it. And my mom actually, she set some records for being the first women to do Pikes Peak Auto Hill Climb, to qualify
wow.
for it. So she always raced cars, she raced motorcycles, she raced snowmobiles.
Wow.
Even late in life she raced snowmobiles,
So the racing is in the blood.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, runs deep.
Yeah.
So does your wife race then?
No. She's
No.
smarter than the rest of us.
Yeah, she's just a spectator. She cheers.
Yeah. I tell you what, we've been together long enough, because we've been married, 33 years? Hope I get that right. And so she doesn't even care to go anymore.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, she's had enough of that.
Yeah. So have you noticed, being in the car industry and then coming over to the bike, does it have a lot of similarities, or is it completely two different
It's
types of
two different
dealerships?
animals. Yeah, it's two different animals, because the car side people are buying a need, and their attitudes are completely different during that buying process. When they're buying a motorcycle or buying something like a boat, where it's fun, it's a toy, it's something that's enjoyable. Now, yeah, some people still ride them to work all the time, and it's their major mode of transportation during the summer months. But with that being said, yeah, it's so much more fun being involved in this industry. And I think with my background in motorcycles, before I got into selling them, it's just a natural fit for me.
Yeah.
So how does kind of the sales process differ? So like when they come in and they want a Harley Davidson, that's a want. So does the sales process become easier because they already know they want that? Or are they still, there's just, there's people that like to, save money. But sometimes, like when people walk into a Harley Davidson store, they may have 20 grand set aside, but they see that bike that just grabs their eye for 24,000. Do they just, 'cause I feel like people are more likely to, spare no expense on something that they want, where a need, it's like, well, I guess, I don't know, just how does that sales process differ?
Well, Rob, that's a great question, because it is vastly different, and I had to understand it and learn it when I got there. The automotive industry is so hyper competitive, because you have so many options. Just at Mandan, let alone you put Mandan Bismarck together, and every city's the same. There's multiple dealerships, and they know that time is of the essence, that when they have that customer in their store, that they need to try to close them as soon as possible
Right.
to take them off the market from shopping.
Right.
Now, we have competition too. There's other brands that are strong. We have other Harley dealerships within our state and surrounding states that are also
Sure.
good and aggressive. But the difference is, there's not the pressure. Like, we don't put a bunch of pressure on people to buy. We help them make the right buying decisions, because motorcycles are specialized as what a automotive is.
Sure.
Because if you're buying a big bagger or a small entry-level cruiser, that's a way different motorcycle. So we ask people, how do you intend on using it? Will you be riding it 2 up?
Exactly.
What kind of trips
Yep.
are you going to do? Will you be carrying cargo. So we try to make the people that are new to it make the right decision.
More or less, you know, set them up to a point where they're happy, not just get them on a bike, you know.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
It's not like we just want to take their money and go down the road. We want to.
Yeah, that's
It's a long-lasting relationship. Is generally
absolutely
what happens.
Yeah. So, and that's pretty similar to our sales process too. You know, these customs that we provide. You know, it's more time. It's actually 100% a want.
Yeah.
You know, nobody needs a custom. You know, so it's
We're putting our mics on. I can't do this shit's no.
No good.
No
Seriously?
bueno. I'll put my
Really?
mics on.
Why? What's going on?
It's probably 'cause
Everybody just keeps on moving around too much.
Yeah,
So
you probably see
where's-
that while we're trying to
Yeah.
look at each other. You know.
Yeah, so we're just gonna put our mics on.
so is it all trash?
It's not all trash, no. I mean, it's still savable, but it's just, where the fuck did my mics go?
Well,
Amy, do you do all the editing for this stuff?
I do. Yeah.
this just sucks because every time we get into a groove, it's like
I know,
we have
I'm
to
sorry.
ungroove it and start
But at
over
least
again.
I
and
have
it's
the mics
really
here.
getting annoying. I'm not gonna
At least
lie.
I
Should
have
just
the
put them
mics
on from the get-go.
I should have, I was going to, but I thought maybe it would work.
Well, it's been proven that the mics work, so why don't you just use it?
Because we wanted better sounding mics.
Yeah, these sound better, but it doesn't capture.
I think when we're trying to, have a normal
Yep.
conversation when you're looking
Yeah.
at somebody and
And you don't
you're
have
moving
to-
around,
yeah.
Feel a little bit more
on and
natural.
off of them. The nice thing about this particular area is I can watch my car get towed. If we go.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, all you gotta do is say, hey.
So do you wanna, shut this off? I don't know how to just shut it off.
I don't know that we have to. You feeding it just directly through the mics into
Yep.
your camera, right? So
Yep.
we really shouldn't have to do anything with the board at all.
Okay.
Looks like these are all on right now.
Okay.
And then I'm wondering, should we put Bill on the end?
Bill might be better on the end, because everybody's talking to Bill. Bill's talking to everybody,
Yeah.
you know? Instead of Bill going back and forth like
Yeah.
that. Bill's
So
talking to
that way when
everybody.
he's talking to
I
me, he
could-
doesn't tune out Rob, and when he's talking to Rob, he's not tuning me out.
Yep.
So I can just go on the end where Travis is and
No, you can just sit in the middle.
mic in, right?
Yeah. God dang it.
That deal was flowing.
I
I
know.
know, it sounded really good to you guys, I'm sorry. It's just, you're gonna be happy that I did this because you're not gonna like the
It's
quality
all
of the
about
sound.
quality, yep.
Yep.
Well, I know, it just sucks to
Where do you want this thing
get
moved off to?
grooving. Yeah.
You want to put it right in front of Travis's face, right?
Yes,
Yeah,
that's
because
exactly
like I said, I
what
got a radio face.
How close do you have this?
Well, I could show
We're
you
gonna-
some
we're
video
gonna-
faces.
Still can't believe you asked me that.
Yes or no, Travis? Yes or no?
Not necessarily.
Not necessarily. Yeah, okay.
Oh, yeah, okay.
That is not your toothbrush.
That is not your toothbrush.
Alright, switch your waters around.
Yeah, okay. Man, I broke into a sweat when you asked me that. I'm like, we got hot in here. So we turn a fan on. Rob's asking me weird questions.
We got hot in here.
Yeah.
Yep, that's dirty pool.
Yeah.
Trying
Man.
to put you on the spot so you can't say no in front of
Yeah.
the camera.
That's right.
I'm gonna answer this, but we're gonna edit it. But
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Oh,
Fuck
yeah, no. Absolutely, fuck no.
You know that you're asking me about, like my dad
Is it
was,
breaking up in the
he would
headphones?
mod the motors out so much on all the demos that it would put too big
They
of
weren't
cams in them
close
and
enough,
it'd suck
they
to
were,
ride
they were
on top.
so
Like,
animated, they're
I'd always
not
say,
so much.
like them turbocharged bikes, I'm like, why do you need that much power? He goes, it's not that I need it, it's because I can.
Right. That's true though. It makes
You know, and I still ride that turbo white glide that he built. But You just got to respect it, you know, and that's the thing. You know, like all my years of racing dirt bikes, you get a really good understanding for traction and when things can go sideways.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Even like having my Chevelle, there's a fine line. Like you have to focus on the road, but you're also mentally just the sound. Like you got to hear your machine.
You gotta know when it's gonna hit.
Yeah, it's a feel, it's a sound, it's everything.
Yeah, it's
we've all seen those videos like on YouTube or something, and some jackass gets on the gas and spins sideways, smashes into cars, hits the curb, and you're like, that's a guy that just didn't have a feel.
yeah, he wasn't feeling it.
Yeah,
he was not feeling it. I know, because even when you watch them, you're like, really? At what point did you not, like, maybe I should let off?
Yeah.
You don't seem like a rainbow guy, but if you've got a girl in your life, they'd get you a big rig shirt too.
Oh, cool. Well, thank you.
Yeah, thanks
That's
for coming
awesome.
in.
Yeah, you betcha.
Are we
Nice
good?
meeting you too.
Amazing now.
Are we all good, though? Can you hear all of us?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, Rob's man, a few words.
Yes.
Yes.
Water.
We good?
Good to go. And we're recording again new, so just continue where you're at, kind of, at least try to. But now we have another 30 minutes on top of that. So.
All right,
So we're good to go?
Okay.
Are we good? So even getting into that with the sales aspect, I'm sure that, you know, it's one thing that you want to just sell them a bike, but on the same token, you got to make sure, like, have they taken the abate course? Do they know how to handle a motorcycle? Can they handle that big of a motorcycle? Can they handle that much power? Instead of just saying, hey, customer walks in and says, hey, I want the coolest, baddest bike, and be like, okay, here you go, write a check. Or are you going to be able to, because let me tell you a story. Back when I used to manage with Planet Power Sports, I think you remember, we were just right down the street from you.
That was the timer for that. 30 minutes. Sorry.
And when we sold used, you know, bikes and snowmobile, you know, that's kind of what we specialized in. It was all used power sports stuff. And we had this gentleman. He was elderly, and he bought I think it was like a 750. I think it was a Vulcan or something like that. It wasn't a big cruiser, but it was about a 750 or 900. This guy was like 5 feet tall, okay? And we were leery about, you know, he wanted this bike, and this guy was probably 150 pounds soaking wet. I mean, he was just a little guy, and, you know, you're nervous. It's like, well, get on the bike, sit on it. You know, I just want to sell you this thing, and I want to make sure you can handle it. And he got on, and he struggled a little bit, you know, and he wanted us to lower it just so he can have more control with the feet. So we lowered, put a lowering kit in it, and he came back. It was like a week later by the time we got the part in and got it installed. And he came and got the bike, and when he would put the kickstand up and he wanted to go take off, like you could just tell, like, oh Lord, you know, it's like, okay. Like but the guy swore to me, like, I've been riding for years and everything. And so I was like, well, I have to take your word for it, because, you know, we don't have a training course to be like, let's see first, you know, you just got to take their word for it. And so he took off out of the parking lot, and when he went up to get onto the strip, I don't know if he froze or what, but he hit the throttle and he went launching across the strip.
Yeah,
and
we've seen that too.
And the next thing I saw was he disappeared, and then like a bomb went off with dirt, and this big cloud of smoke went up, and I'm like,
oh boy,
you've got, that just happened. So me and two of the techs at the time, we go running out there, and the guy launched the motorcycle into the ditch on the other side. It was on its side. He was pinned underneath it. It was just chaos. And, you know, and we got the guy out. Luckily, he wasn't hurt or nothing. And he's like, maybe I should just sell this bike. That was like his first thing. And we thought, you just bought this. It's a week old. And now he brought it back. He's like, maybe you just want to sell it. He couldn't handle it, but he said he could. So kind of that same aspect, like I'm sure you guys have seen it, but you almost have to know what the customer is looking for before you just go in and say, hey, well, you're looking for a bike. Let's just sell you a bike. You've got to make sure you can handle it.
That whole story that you just told, we could sit around and make this a 5-hour show.
Oh, I bet. Yeah.
Like, there's times our staff that we'll be sitting around having some beers and we start talking about things that happened in the past and the stories we could tell.
Oh, I bet.
And I tell you what, that when I first started in this business coming over from automotive, that whole thing about turning somebody loose on a motorcycle for test drive just scared the hell out of me.
Oh, I bet.
Now there's protocols. They have to have a motorcycle endorsed license. They come in with a permit. No dice, can't do it on a permit. They have to have a motorcycle endorsed license. That doesn't mean that they're comfortable riding our motorcycle in the parking lot or have the skills to do it. And yeah, I've seen some crazy things. But you like you said, because we've been around this our whole life, you get a pretty good feeling for somebody's ability just by the way they carry themselves. And yeah, we've had unfortunately some incidences where things go south and on
a test drive.
Yeah,
Really?
we had a deal just almost identical to that, except the guy didn't go into the ditch.
Oh, really?
Where the
that
fruit stand across the road.
Yeah.
This one guy went across and was going headlong into the traffic, and he got over on the shoulder on the other side, and nothing happened. But oh boy, that's so frightening.
Yeah. There was another one that when we were selling, this kid came up and it was a Suzuki Rocket sitting there, and he gets on and he starts it up, and I don't know if he just got some extra money, but he wanted, it was the yellow, I can't remember what year it was, but I mean, like I said, it was a few years ago, but anyways, he got on it, he started, I mean, he was just grinning ear to ear, and he's revving it up like he just won the lottery, and then he looked at me and he's like, so how do you ship this thing? And that was the indication, like, this isn't the bike for you. If you don't know how to shift, you got to get on.
Yeah, when they say what side's the brake on, right away it's like, oh boy.
Yeah, that's a
Where's
red
the clutch?
flag. So are you, okay, so say somebody does come in, and I don't want to get off the subject, but like, and they come in to purchase a bike, and they want to test drive, and I know you got protocols there. Now, let's just say if somebody wants to test drive and they don't, or even want to purchase and they don't have a motorcycle license, are you kind of prohibited that you can or can't sell, or doesn't it matter? Like Harley doesn't matter. Harley doesn't care. Like, sale's a sale. You don't have to show proof that you can or can't or have a driver's license. Nothing. That's totally up to you. You can sell it. There's no liability, there's no nothing, right?
There is no liability on our part if we sell a motorcycle to a gentleman or a lady that has no motorcycle endorsement on their license. You can buy one. You're not legally supposed to ride it.
Yeah.
But there's nothing prohibiting us from selling it to them.
Yeah. So it's kind of like no different than selling a vehicle. Like, there's certain, it's like you can sell a vehicle as long as it meets DOT, but you as the owner have to be the responsible one to make sure it's up to par as owning that dealership to drive, to make sure it's all, for the legal aspect of it, that it passes inspection and all that kind of stuff. So I suppose it's the same thing there too. A sale is a sale, but it's up to you as the new owner to abide by the law.
Yes. Yeah.
So yeah, I can about imagine you and I could probably sit down and tell stories of stuff that we've probably seen and encountered. And I even know too, there's been a couple years I've sent some bikes your way that I've been out just on a Sunday cruise. I think there was that one gentleman that we ran into in South Dakota where he launched his motor out of his bike, and I think I called you late night one night. It was on a Saturday night to come down and bring the bike down there. He needed a new motor put in it, and we just came upon him while we were out on a Sunday, or I think it was a Saturday cruise. I think it was during McQuaid's even, if I remember right. That was a couple of years ago that, just with bikes, you could probably have 100 stories of things that you ran into and seen.
Yeah, it could be an entire episode upon itself.
Yeah, I can about imagine.
I remember I went down to the rally with me racing motocross for 48 years. I was down at the Sturgis Rally. I went down there just to race. Mm-hmm. Other than that, I don't partake in it. But I used to go down there to race all the time. And I was at a gas station in Belfouche, and the guy's bike wouldn't run. Well, I had my trailer, had all my dirt bike stuff in it. We made room, squeezed his Harley in there, and I took him to the Spearfish City Park where they were camping, just to help the guy out. Right. And that's kind of what you did for that other fella.
Yeah. So. I've, and it kind of seems like that once you're part of that bike world, you're part of it. If you ever see another bike stranded or down, like, it's almost in your blood to, like, we got to help this
Yep.
guy out, because if the table was overturned, you'd want somebody to do the same thing. Now, if you had a car, probably not.
Yeah,
But it
probably
seemed-
not.
It depends on the car.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
But with a bike, it never fails. Every time we've gone out ride, it's if somebody's on the side of the road, the first thing, it's like thumbs up. Are you good? You need help? Anything? And I think that whole motorcycle industry, it's like your big family. Like everybody always looks out for the next person, just to make sure if you are in dire need of help or anything like that. So, kind of getting back to motocross, like you still race, right?
Yes.
I mean,
Yep.
not as hard, but I mean, you still motocross.
I'd say
race,
just
yeah.
as hard as I ever did.
Really?
I'm actually leaving next Wednesday for a big race called World Vets. And it's they start at 25 and go up to 70 with every 5-year increments. And then they have an intermediate, an amateur, and an expert class in each 5 years. And I'm going to that race in a week. I went when I turned 50, and I turned 60 just Monday, so I'm going to be in a plus 60 expert class at this thing. So, yeah, I'm still racing a lot.
You don't look 60.
No, you really don't.
Well, I don't act it either, so.
Yeah, I was actually shocked that you said that. So, hey, good, that's awesome.
Can we put some money down on who's winning that 60 class? I mean,
Yeah.
No, man, let me tell you, when I go to that, I'm racing against a bunch of guys that are former professionals,
Oh,
guys
okay.
that when I was a kid and breaking into
Looking
the
up
pro
to,
ranks,
yeah.
I looked up to and raced
Right.
against them, was just starstruck by them, and I still have a little bit of that when now that I got to
That's
race
cool. Yeah, now you get
against
to race
them.
with them.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's
See,
awesome.
You're telling me at 48 years of racing that you're not there yet?
Yeah.
I mean, you think
I think at about 30, I was as good as I was ever going to be,
Okay.
and from there you start to decline in the
Yeah.
motocross world quite rapidly.
Yeah, it's kind of like back even snowmobiling. It just seems like every year that, I used to be pretty diehard, but not so much anymore at all. But it's like, you could rub a little dirt on it and get back on your saddle again and ride. But now it's like, it takes
Yeah.
maybe a couple more days to.
Yeah, recovery's slower.
Yeah, it is.
Without a doubt.
Makes you kind of second guess things and look at it differently as you get older. But
It's crazy. It's like I never thought, I've been snowmobiling in the mountains was the only thing I wanted to do since I was 18, and I've done it since I was 18. And I was like, man, this feeling is never going to go away. But the past year, it's like, it did. It wore thin. It's like, man, like, it's just crazy. I never thought it'd go away. And now it's like, looking at moving on to other things in my life, I got a lot of toys, and I'd sell that sled. And so when I went back to school to be an engineer, and I got through my 2 years, and I was a little low on funds, and I had to, come up with some money. And I sold my Harley. I kept my sled. Now I think if that opportunity came across, I'd be selling my sled.
Yeah.
I don't think I'll ever go without a Harley again, ever.
I did that. I was in that same world too. I was big into mountain snowmobiling, and absolutely loved it, because there is not much other feeling like when you're in a big
Absolute
powder
freedom.
field and you just rip it up.
And you potentially could be somewhere where no one else has ever been before. I think that's unreal.
But it did that with me too. It became less and less important because it's an awful lot of work to go.
Expensive.
Yeah, and a lot of money, and for a limited amount of time, and then you're stuck at high elevation, and just the whole thing. The older you get, boy, it starts to kick your butt.
yeah, you have to be fit. Yeah, you can't just go up in elevation and think that you're just going to ride all day. It just elevation change takes a toll on you. But I think too, it's like as I got older, the biggest thing for me was I was almost looking forward more to the company of the trip and who was going with than the actual snowmobiling part of it, and it got fun. It just kind of seemed like I'm taking time off from cold to leave cold to go to cold. If I'm taking time off from work, I want to go the other direction, that just kind of seems like with my priorities
bones warm.
is I want to go south and ride Harley and ride bike. And I think that just, my love for it, just I have 3 Harleys and I love it. It's such a calming thing for me. So to be able to go south and ride Harley over the winter time, I think is more satisfying for me than taking that sled, which is an expensive sport, and ride up in the mountains and get the crap beat out of you.
It's a good time. That
Yeah.
it was about 2 years ago we kind of got the band back together, so to speak. Some of my old buddies that we all used to snowmobile together in the mountains, three of us don't even own sleds. I mean, I guess I have a couple trail sleds now, but we ended up going up renting snowmobiles, which is a maddening deal in itself.
Right.
One of the other guys had his own, and we spent a couple days riding up to Bighorns, and gosh, we had fun. But first day, the snowmobiles have changed so much that I had to like relearn how to ride. I fell off and got stuck about 40 times the first day, and there was nothing left of me. I was so tired.
Right.
It was unbelievable.
And it's crazy because if anybody's ever done that, we were big into Arctic Cat. Like that was what I was into.
That was the sled to have, though.
Yeah, and back in the day when the King Cats came out, like you were something. You were somebody if you had a King Cat with a big motor and long track. And that was what everybody had. And it seemed like when the chassis changed and you start learning how to ride the newer chassis, and a buddy of mine still had a King Cat that was with us, and I'm like, man, I want to get on that. Just the old school, like die-hard King Cat. Man, it whooped me.
Yeah, it's like, you can keep that King Cat.
Yeah, I'm like, you can keep this old tank, but back in the day, like that was the shit. Like that was the sled to have. But then once, like you said, when the change is over to the different bikes, so to learn, you had to relearn like 100% how to ride a sled again just by changing that chassis, and I suppose the motocross, is it the same way?
Oh, it's the same way.
What do you ride? You a Honda guy or what?
Well, right now I have a 350 KTM and a 450 KTM. And I really kind of stayed away from that Austrian brand for a long time. But for our local series, they pay contingency money really well. So I can make enough money in about 3 years, because after 3 years old, the bike doesn't qualify for contingency money anymore. So I can usually make enough money to buy my next bike off their contingency program because it's pretty strong.
Oh, wow.
Nice. Yeah.
So you got to kind of work the system a little bit. But
anytime you can get your fun paid for.
Absolutely. Yeah, I don't know. That deal's got to come to an end, though, too. I can't continue doing that because I'm too competitive to go out and just cruise. And, when things go wrong, go sideways, and you hit the ground hard at my age, you're not going to have good results.
Right.
I already have artificial knees was caused by years of doing that. Somehow I got to force my way out of it. And I'll tell you, one of the things that I'm starting to get into, and I tell people, so Harley's come out with an adventure bike. Adventure bikes are like a big dirt bike that you can go down the highway at 140 miles an hour. It has cruise control and heated grips and all the whole deal, but fantastic suspension. And riding those things out in the woods is an absolute blast. So I tell people that the adventure bike world is my methadone to get me off the cocaine and motocross.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
I mean, because I gotta quit that before it kills me. So that's kind of the next thing I want to get into. But man, I'm having such a hard time pulling myself away from racing dirt bikes. I just love it so much. I love the people that I'm around, and it's like it's an own traveling circus of people that you don't know them any other time during the year, but you see them every weekend at the races.
Right, and just even the adrenaline and just the atmosphere with the motocross industry is pretty intense.
It is.
I've been to a few motocross races, and it's one thing to watch it on TV, but to be there, it's a whole completely different era. I mean, it's just the atmosphere, the people, to see it, to feel it, everything. I can see it could be tough.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not something easy you can just walk away from.
Yeah, you can, especially, like I said, 48 years for me, and it's been difficult. And at one point, I was one of the best riders in a 5-state area, and you have to swallow your pride because you can't continue to do that when you get old like me. So I've had to kind of, keep going into lower classes and trying to ride within my limits so I don't hurt myself. Right. It's more important that I do that and realize I'm not as good as I once was.
Yeah.
I think there's a song there somewhere.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's it. But just the love of doing it, I got to do it. I got to do to continue to do it.
and slowly get away from it.
I think probably over time it'll take a mindset change to kind of get that appreciation or that good feeling you get from competition and racing and winning. It'll take a different mindset for that to cross over into that dual purpose riding bike world. Like you'll get more of a sense for adventure and, you know, just being out there. So it kind of takes a little bit of a mindset change because it's two different ways of riding, you know.
I'll tell you what.